My name is Ilya Reingold, and I'm representing the team behind Trinity. I'm going to do my best to keep this video as short as possible and to just help explain our application and where we went with it, what our philosophy was. So the purpose of Trinity is to help you confidently purchase homes by managing expenses and mortgage costs. So Trinity is effectively an online and investment tool that considers how much money you spend versus how much you make and helps you try to find properties that fit you. So let's jump straight into it. We can quickly sign in with Facebook. I've already authorized myself before. You just fill in your information, you'll get into it. So you'll see that over here there's a sidebar that automatically pulls up your profile picture. There's a couple options, which I'll explain in a moment. And on the main dashboard, what you have here is this attractive little pie graph with a bunch of color-coded categories of expenses, such as kids, taxes, auto and transportation, business services, health, etc. So keep this short, if you scroll down, you'll see that all the options are actually hidden in little accordions with a field inside. Food, for example, food and dining is over here, 9% of your total expenses at $100 a month. If for some reason you set it to 1,000, you would see that this graph would reflect that. And the way you set it is you just hit enter when you're on it, and then that modifies that. So what we're doing is we've also simulated all this data. It's all faked. If we had a production live application, we would ideally be integrated with a financial services API, and we pull in this information automatically. The design philosophy behind Trinity was to get the user to spend as little amount of time typing in information and as much time actually doing stuff. So that includes logging in and getting your expenses. There's all these fields that are over here, and you'll see that they'll get reflected if you change it. I'm not sure which one fees is. Fees and charges is now 100 at 8%. Definitely, if we had more time and resources, we could really buff out how this page looks, feels, and behaves, but this is kind of the best that we had time for. So now that we've calculated our monthly expenses at just a little over $1,300, we can flip over to the left and we can see that there's actually a button here called Properties and Mortgages. If I click that, it pulls up the Google Maps API and displays it on our dashboard, and it also drops in all these red markers. All these red markers represent a home. These are just 1,000 data points randomly positioned as close as possible to Toronto. They're not true homes that are for sale on the market. If we had a production application, that would be a core part of this, is to find a way to integrate with real estate APIs to make this data as fresh and meaningful as possible. But for now, it's just created with two variables in mind, latitude and longitude and the price. And hovering over one will display a little information box which just tells you just that data. Now, you can also click on it and it pulls up a modal and it'll show you the for sale price, what 5% of that will look like, some of the amount of savings you have, and it kind of looks at how much your income is, how much savings you have, how much this would cost you per month, and it tells you, hey, if you bought this house, you wouldn't have any cash flow at all. You might even be in the red. So if you look over to the sidebar under personal financial details and you click on that, it's another accordion which has 4 fields, and those are salary, savings, debt, and expenses, which you can recognize is reflected from your expenses management page. These other 3 numbers we automatically generate for you, and this is because of the hackathon time constraints. Ideally, we would have this integrated with a Scotiabank's database, for example, and you would get this information automatically. We really want to not make the user spend any time typing in information and as much time planning and using the app as possible. So what Trinity does is it's showing you all 1,000 data points, every single option that's available on the Toronto real estate market, but it's not actually filtering it according to your personal variables. So one of the things that happens if you actually were to adjust one of these filters is you'd see that the algorithm that we put in, which is just a really simple mathematical equation at this stage, will kick in and it'll show you what you can and can't afford. So if I drop it, even just a couple thousand, and then just apply that filter gets applied, you'll see that with this amount of expenses, with only this amount of savings and this debt, and only this much that you make per year, you actually can't afford anything for 50K. If you drop your expenses, it might sort of pop something up, but not yet, right? So let's just go back to salary. Salary is by far the biggest variable that has weight in our algorithm, and if you scroll up salary slowly, you'll start to see at 66K with, only 880 in expenses per month, we actually do have a couple options on the market that we can start talking about right now. Um, Whenever you update this information, if you save it, it'll apply those calculations, and help actually determine your monthly free cash flow. So, it, again, all these numbers are not intended to be true financial metrics, but rather the idea and concept of showing how a dynamic application can look at different sources of information and aggregate that in a way that's meaningful to a user or a customer. And in this case, it's information that we already know, like how much we spend and how much we make, and it helps us find new meaningful ways to apply that information, like what kind of a home can we afford, and how much would that leave me at the end of the month with. And that's really all Trinity seeks to do, is to help you look at options and assess your investment opportunities, and hopefully get you moving forward to purchasing your first home. And that's it. That's the whole application. We did also add a little at-home button as well, so you're not just completely geared towards millennial students, millennial students like us on that were on the team, that are looking to ask them solve the question of how the heck can I possibly afford my first home? Where do I even get started with learning and understanding that kind of thing? And then you might get some users that actually might use this as an actual investment app, where they already have more than one property and they want to track their ongoing expenses, and to be able to consider how they might be able to, maybe build up a portfolio of real estate investments. So we've created an ability to also add data dynamically to the map, and Google Maps will just pull the address, and it should automatically pop it in, and then boom, right there, you can see that the blue represents your home. And then we could envision this being a powerful tool for long-term real estate investments, especially when you automatically tie in your expenses and debt in a real-time fashion. And that's it. That's what's 40 hours and 3 people managed to hack together on one sleepless weekend. Thank you very much.